And my guest today, Nancy Solari, calls it living full out. And if you think you've got too many obstacles to overcome, listen to Nancy's story. She was diagnosed at age 16 with retinitis pigmentosa, an eye disease that has progressed over the years until she now is legally blind. And not only that, Nancy Solari, as a child, witnessed domestic violence. She was sexually harassed in the music industry, underwent 5 miscarriages, battled suicide, and experienced infidelity. But guess what? She's overcome all those horrendous setbacks and now inspires others to overcome their own life's disappointments and strive for their goals. And here's Nancy Solari's bio. She's founder and CEO of Living Full Out, a company she founded in 2008. She's a certified life and business coach, renowned public speaker, and author of inspirational books. She's host of the weekly Living Full Out show, where Nancy speaks to listeners who call in seeking advice on how they can become resourceful in managing difficult or tragic situations. And she has prior careers in TV show production, as a professional singer, and as a highly successful real estate agent in Southern California. And hello, Nancy Solari. We are indeed honored to have you here today as a guest on Middle Age Can Be Your Best Age.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I'm happy to be here.
Well, to begin, can you please describe for us your experience with retinitis pigmentosa? I can't even begin to imagine being told at age 16 that my vision would progressively deteriorate and I'd be legally blind at age 40. What inspired you at such a young age to strive for greatness and establish ambitious life goals rather than resenting fate and retreating in misery to a life as a handicapped person? What inspired you?
Well, thank you for all that introduction. It's wild. I remember when we were diagnosed, and I was diagnosed at 16, and my 2 older sisters, we all 3 have retinitis pigmentosa. Wow. And my mom was a single mom at the time, so that was devastating for our family. Yeah. And on top of that, they told us on Thanksgiving of the year that they told us, so it was just a double punch. But the thing is I did kind of go into denial for just a little bit. I couldn't even wrap my head around. At age 16, I just started driving. I wanted to finish high school and go to college. But then, my sister and I, we kind of had a conversation, and we wanted to see things before we might not be able to. So I started to prioritize my life of things that I needed my eyes for. I wanted to go to Europe and backpack through Europe. That's what my sister and I did. And we knew we needed our eyes to see the Vatican, to see Rome, to see all these things we had heard about. I knew that college would be easier with my vision. There were a lot of things that I put forward that I knew I needed my eyes to do, even some of the careers I chose.
To that situation and to prioritize like that instead of sitting around feeling sorry for yourself. I think that was really great.
Yeah, the thing is sometimes it's okay to be still. Sometimes it's okay to sit. And I even think sometimes it's okay to be sad. But at the end of the day, when you're sitting and you're still and you're sad, you also have this longing, this loneliness, and then the swirling of the what if and the woulda, coulda, shouldas come into our minds.
Why me?
Why me, exactly. And one of the things I kind of realized early on is I was like, no, this is not going to be my destiny. And who knows, maybe there'll be a cure. So that's the thing that's really important to know about health conditions is you just never know what could happen. And so if you live your life in fear of, a diagnosis and the worst case scenario, then you're going to get that worst case life. But if you say to yourself, you know what, that could happen, I could go blind, but I got a lot of years between 16 and 40, I want to make the most of them. And so I went that route versus the woe's me route.
That's great. I was really amazed that you were a real estate agent in Southern California and you can no longer drive. Tell us how you got to the houses you were going to show to potential buyers. That's really an amazing story.
Yeah, that was wild. I remember the day I gave up driving and I put my keys in the drawer of my desk, and I just knew that I couldn't really see confidently anymore.
Yeah.
But here I was with this thriving real estate business, and I couldn't just stop it. And so I decided to figure out the bus system.
Oh,
And, a lot of my clients, here I am in Los Angeles, these are multi-million-dollar homes. My clients would, drive BMWs and all these different luxury automobiles. So I would take a bus and I would get to the house early. I would turn on all the lights, make it as bright as I could for me, memorize every step, really get to know the house. I mean, sometimes I would be there an hour early before the showing, and then I would do the showing and it would go over well, and then I would wait until my clients would take off in their car, and then I would walk back to the bus. And a lot of times I would do multiple showings in a day, so I would show I would be on anywhere between 2 to 12 buses in a day showing
the bus
properties.
service in Southern California, as I recall, isn't the greatest either.
It's a lot of connections, a lot of buses that break down, and yeah, it was something. And the extra bonus funny story on top of that one would be on days that I had my open houses. I would be on the bus with like 6 open house signs, flags, you name it.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure the people on the bus were, why is that realtor taking the bus? But little did they know that I was legally blind, and it's what I had to do.
Well, I was fascinated by audio recordings on your website, livingfullout.com. You indicate in establishing romantic or business relationships, there are certain advantages to lack of sight, not being able to see the face of truly a blind date, I guess you'd say. How were you able to get to know and form an impression of folks you were meeting for the first time? And as you get to know folks better, do your early impressions usually prove to be accurate?
Absolutely. It's so interesting. That's been the most fascinating part of this journey with losing my eyesight is, on one hand, in a comedic way, I always tell my friends, family, and so forth, in my eyes, or lack of eyes, you'll never have gray hair, you'll never have wrinkles, right? There's bonuses there. But on the other side, when you lose one sense, all the other senses kick in. So I really put together what I think someone is like based upon their voice, based upon their smell, based upon their touch. And you can just feel somebody's warm heart, but you can also feel when somebody is kind of being distant or maybe they're not as open. And so it's really led me to have more heartfelt relationships, and it's kind of interesting, too, because the people that meet me for the first time, a lot of times they say, well, you're looking right at me. And I tell them, well, I can't see well, but I can see like maybe a dark blotch. I'm pretty sure that's their hair. Sometimes I can see these like dark circles. That's their eye sockets. A lot of times the nose and the mouth all kind of blend together. And so my training in broadcasting helped me to really just kind of listen to the voice and look in that direction. So it's just kind of funny because a lot of people, they don't know I can't see until I tell them.
Well, that's great. Well, let's, to begin, give us a definition of your term living fallout. I'd like to turn to the challenges so many of us face at middle age. What does the term living fallout mean, and what is it like to live full out, and what are some of the benefits that you receive from doing so?
Well, what it means to live full out is to have balance in your life. So, if you're putting too much time into your career, then a lot of times your personal life may not be as strong. Or maybe you're hanging out with your friends all the time, or you're hanging out with your kids, or whatever that is, but, you have all these I wish I had career ambitions, right?
Yeah.
And so what we try to do is help people kind of balance out their life, considering it like a pie. If you were to take a pie, you would make slices out of it. So one slice should be career, one should be relationships, one should be passions and hobbies, and so forth. And that's our goal, is to help, people connect the dots from having a wish, a dream, an ambition, to figuring out how do I make it happen.
Oh, yeah. That makes a lot of sense. Well, on your website, you tell us that living a full-out mindset is based on 13 elements, and we don't have time to go over all 13, but perhaps we can identify and highlight a few. How about purpose? What is this element, and how does it contribute?
Well, purpose is really important. I don't care if you're age 10 or you're 90, right?
Yeah.
Purpose is important, but purpose is a sneaky one because purpose doesn't have to be having a business.
Oh,
It doesn't have to be having a family. You just have to get out of bed every day and know that you're bringing meaning to another person's life.
Yeah.
And so that can be being a good neighbor. That can be being a good coworker, being a
and
good
it's so crucial
son or
that
daughter.
you mention another person benefiting, because I don't think anyone can be really live full out just living for themselves. You really have to help somebody else in the process.
Well, and that's the thing when we talk about middle age, sometimes we get comfortable at home, right?
Yeah.
We get stuck in our own routines. We might need to, follow certain habits or schedules. But what I have found is if I can touch the life of one person each day, even if that means that I just call someone up and say I'm thinking about them, or send them a text saying I'm proud of you for XYZ reason, that is purpose. When that person gets that message, that text, you've just highlighted their day. You've put light in their world. And we can do that, and that has nothing to do with what we do for a living. That has nothing to do with how much money we have in our bank account.
Well, next element you include is tenacity, and by this I assume you don't mean we doggedly continue on a narrow path to a goal that is no longer realistic because circumstances have changed. Shouldn't we modify our goal or change tactics if the present ones aren't working? Can we still have tenacity and change like that, or how does that work?
Well, absolutely. You nailed it. I mean, kind of the joke of life is the joke is that it's a game, it's a quest, and when you go one direction and something isn't working, you have to switch it up.
Yeah.
And the beauty of life is that it's full of color. And this is funny from someone who's visually impaired and I can't see colors, but I know it's full of color, right?
Yeah.
So let's say that you want to, work out or lose some weight, right?
Yeah.
There's different ways to get there. So you might think you have to go to the gym. Everybody gets a gym membership. But maybe that isn't the way. Maybe you could just lose that same weight by being out in nature walking. Or maybe it's just taking the stairs at work instead of the elevator, little subtle changes.
Yeah,
so
if you hate going to the gym, in other words, you don't have to do it that way. You can go out for a beautiful walk in the woods or whatever.
Exactly.
and reach the same goals. Well, one other interesting element, I really like the element blow away limits. So many of us place artificial limits upon ourselves, maybe based on what a parent or teacher told us we couldn't do when we were little kids. And I'm certain, being blind, you've had many well-meaning folks tell you that you couldn't do this or that. But any suggestions on how to blow away these limits so that have been holding us back for so long? I know that's a problem for a lot of people in middle age that blowing away these limits.
Absolutely. One of the things that I think is important is to take inventory of our own expectations and other people's expectations. And I encourage everybody to make a list. Write it down. What are your own expectations that you have for your life going forward and where you feel it should be today? And also write down, think of the people in your life and what expectations do you feel that they have for you?
Yeah.
And what you want to do is you want to consider all of those and you want to blow them away. So if someone says that you should have a certain life and in their eyes that is the meaning of success, but it's not really jiving with you, then you want to blow away the limit by being successful in a different way. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I can see what you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
One final question on your program. During your coaching sessions, or on that and during the coaching sessions, you interview folks from all walks of life. For inspiration, can you describe at least one individual who has overcome a major challenge to live full out? Now, how did he or she do it? I know you overcame that, but can you give us maybe another example of somebody?
You know, there are actually so many guests. In fact, I'm going to tell you about a couple of them, but I won't go into like names and stuff because I just want to give you some quick examples.
Yeah.
One example is we had a lady who lost her 2-week-old son, her 5-year-old daughter, and her husband, all in a tragic car accident.
Oh, how horrible.
And she had every reason to give up in the world. And in fact, she gained a lot of weight because it was her way of dealing with the pain.
Yeah.
She went on to be a participant on The Biggest Loser. It was a TV show on NBC, of all things.
Yeah.
She ended up losing the weight. She ended up getting married again. And one of the insights that she gave me is when she got married, everybody kept saying to her, "Are you going to have kids?" And she said, "I had great kids." And she taught me that a family doesn't have to be kids and the whole package deal. She said, "My husband and I, we are a family."
Oh, that's wonderful.
And I'll share one last one with you.
Yeah.
We actually had a gentleman on our show who had worked for a long time to be a musician, a singer, an artist. He finally got his winning moment, and after doing the music video, he watched it back, and he was like, "Who's that overweight guy?" All of a sudden, he was up to 450 pounds.
Oh, wow.
And he vowed that he needed to lose that weight. Like he didn't want to get to the pinnacle of his career and all of a sudden be this large person he didn't recognize. And you know what? He started walking. He walked 5 miles a day, but it didn't start that way. It started just walking around the block, and then it was 2 blocks, then it was 3 blocks. And the other thing is, he got resourceful. He ended up shopping at the 99-cent store, a thrift store, and that's where he would get all of his produce, all of his cans of tuna. And believe it or not, within 18 months, he lost over 200 pounds.
Wow, that's
and it was
really
just
impressive.
An awakening. He woke up and he said, "Listen, I want better for my life." And he was actually on our TV show, and he brought his pants. They were 52 inches, his pants.
Wow.
And now he was down to 33 inches. Pretty amazing.
Yeah. Well, before we go, can you briefly describe some of the products and services you offer through your website, livingfullout.com, and how would a listener go about ordering them?
Absolutely. So livingfullout.com is kind of the main hub. And when you go there, we have really built this company because everybody learns differently. So if you're an auditorial learner, then we have videos, we have audios, we have a lot of different things to allow you to get motivated and to get educated. But if you are someone who enjoys reading, then we have our blog. We have books that you can buy on, how to be a better business owner, how to become a public speaker, how to manage stress, how to, manage or thrive even though you have a health condition or a disability. Yeah. There's a lot of different products on there. And I do invite you all to go onto our social media too, LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. We're on all of them. Really just because social media, I think, sometimes gets a bad rap. When we talk about competing and watching what others are doing. But what we try to do is inspire you with the same inspirational stories we have on our radio show, we bring to you through social media, just to kind of give you that extra oomph.
That's great. Well, I know you offer how does someone tune into your radio show? You do that through the website or?
Yeah, because we're spread out different stations and different ways that we distribute the show, the best place to go would just be livingfullout.com, and they can listen right there. They can listen to the live show, or if we have all of our episodes there. Also, if you go to your app store, like if you have an iPhone or an Android or even Alexa, you can just search Living Full Out Radio, and we'll be there as well.
Oh, I see. And you also offer 80 tips to have better communication in your relationships, increase productivity, and motivation you need for more balance in living full out. They can order that through your website as well, can't they?
Actually, that is 100% free. If they go to livingfullout.com It's right there, right on the home page, and they can get access to that for free. And honestly, this is 80 different tips for how you can bring balance into your life.
Kind of overwhelms you when
effective.
you start to see all those tips. But,
yeah.
You don't have to pay attention to every one of the 80, I guess.
No, just pick the one that applies to you.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, so after listening to Nancy Solari, are you ready to live full out? As Nancy puts it, this means to identify your life purpose, learn how to trust your decisions, gain strategies to manage stress, develop skills to nurture relationships, create resources to achieve goals, and discover inner strength and resilience. And as you have discovered, living full out is a way of viewing the world and your place in it, circumstances, goals, relationships, and possibilities with a positive mindset and a passion for experimentation. And when living full out, you will openly embrace the unknown, challenge the status quo, and seek out enriching opportunities that allow you to flourish, even if you're relatively satisfied with things the way they are. And living full out means you recognize the strength that each one of us brings to the party. You feel purpose-driven, and you wake up each morning enthusiastic over what life may bring. And I love the words on Nancy's website, you don't need sight to have vision. And unlike Nancy Solari, most of us do have our sight, but I recommend you go to Nancy's website to gain your vision. And thank you so much, Nancy Solari, for joining us today, and best of success in all that you do.
Thank you so much for having me, and I just wish everybody the best, and go out there and live full out and have fun.
We'll try to do that. Thanks so much for joining us. Bye-bye for now.